Good evening. Welcome to join us in yet another edition of The Insight on Equinox Television. Tonight we take you deep inside the fief of the Social Democratic Front Party, the SDF, in the Northwest region. My guest tonight is the national chairman of the SDF party, John Fru Ndi. I will be right back. You're welcome back. My guest tonight is the national chairman of the Social Democratic Front Party, John Fru Ndi. Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
Now, your last public appearance was in the west region of the country, where you laid the foundation stone as far as the construction of the headquarters of the SDF party is concerned. 25 years after, is it not too late?
I think that you journalists should learn to congratulate the SDF. Even if we're 30, 50 years after, the SDF is able to put resources together to start building, and that's just the regional headquarters of the SDF for the West. It's not for the whole country. We see that the other political parties that even own structures are structures that they amassed. They were not structures that they contributed monies and said they're building this for their own political parties. So I want to congratulate the spirit, enterprising spirit in the SDF that we think we should build our own structures. And congratulate doubly the people of the West who contributed their monies, bought their plot, and they've started building a party edifice. I feel proud of that, and I'm happy I was part of that occasion. I could have been very angry with myself if I missed that occasion.
After that, do you expect other regions to emulate what they...
No, the other regions, they're already working. I mean, I will not want to name which, but they are working. And we'll be having a NEC meeting at the end of this week, where I'll still congratulate the people of the West and then find out the other areas that have started doing their own constructions. Suffice it to say that in the early days, people gave so much land to the SDF. In Douala, I think we had a couple of pieces of land, and in other areas. But since we never had monies to develop, the things just fizzled out. But now we are coming up again, and I think that in a big way, we should be able to build party offices in the different regions.
What could be the importance of party offices in reorganizing militants?
Yes, it's important because they have something they can be proud of, a thing they can call theirs, to say that this is our office, this is our house, this is our building, and they contribute to build.
Okay. All right, we take our very first stop in this program. We move to the machines to have the interviews of the week. Coming up next.
Cameroonians should have confidence in our own justice system. If you can find that in a very serious matter like this, the court takes its responsibility and acquits some of the accused persons in a complaint by the state of Cameroon, it shows that we should give credibility to our court system.
A stadium of 50,000 places, a complex, will be built around the Japoma. And so the population has been called because since the work is urgent, and since the head of state has insisted on this priority project, we of the commission have given ourselves 15 days.
To have a team spirit and to have a winning spirit, to move on the right direction and to move among with other colleagues.
The University of Buea positions itself as an institution with a commitment to excellence in research.
The pitch is constructed between three parts. The first part, the goalkeeper is in charge of the defenders, and the second part, the coach instructs the players, and the final part, there's a guide who deals the attackers, where to attack and how they should attack.
The interviews of the week, and there were some major events that made news during the week. That is why the entire English text of Equinox Television compiled the week in retrospect.
A bike rider and his passenger, a primary school pupil, died on the spot after this truck belonging to the Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife went mad on the streets of Jongule, a neighborhood in the Boulevard in the South region. Sources say the truck, which was undergoing repair works in a garage, was taken out by an apprentice without the consent of his boss. It was while taking a ride that the truck suffered brake failure and started its mad course, with the driver being unable to control the truck. In the course of the crazy rush, the truck destroyed a 504 Peugeot car which was parked along the road, killing a bike rider and his passenger, and bringing down an electric pole before being stopped by a container.
Inter-urban transport agencies transporting passengers and goods from Douala to the west and northwest regions of Cameroon have been compelled by local authorities to move into the Sodiko Motor Park in Bonaberi, except General Voyage. Many have interpreted the fact that General Voyage has not been affected by the administrative decision as discrimination, but the Wuri Senior Divisional Officer Nasiri Paul Beer has dismissed that idea. He says General Voyage has an authorization from the Douala City Council. Inter-urban transport agencies that were operating along the highway in Bonaberi have also been forced into the Sodiko Motor Park, but a question mark remains hanging over the capacity of that park to receive all the Douala-based inter-urban transport agencies plying highways leading to the west and northwest regions.
No freedom for Charles Metuk. The Special Criminal Court in Yaoundé Wednesday decided to sentence to 15 years in jail the former GM of Sonara, the National Oil Refinery Corporation, over the embezzlement of public funds. The verdict is handed down after close to 2 years of trial. It should be recalled that Metuk was arrested 2013 and charged with the embezzlement of over 100 million francs CFA during his 11-year tenure as general manager of the National Oil Refinery Corporation. Two co-accused, Ngale Mwele Rene and Dikunge Leonard, were acquitted by the Special Criminal Court.
Potholes have invaded the main road running through the locality of Japoma in the Douala 3 municipality. The earth road is in a deplorable state. Rehabilitation works launched long ago by the military engineering unit has been abandoned half-finished. Commuters are caught up in the unpleasant experience of using this stretch of road. It has become very difficult to respect some aspects of the highway code here because vehicles and motorbikes are compelled to meander from one side of the road to the other.
Bad farm-to-market roads in Cameroon is impacting the prices of some basic foodstuffs on the market. A basket of tomatoes, which used to sell at 12,000 francs CFA, is now sold at 15,000 francs CFA in many Yaoundé markets. Vendors say due to bad roads, foodstuffs don't reach our markets in quantity. Seasons also determine the prices of some foodstuffs. Tomatoes, a case in point, is in abundance on markets during the rainy season and rare to find on market during the dry season.
At the site of the crusades at the Douala Unification Stadium this Wednesday, the effects of the Stampede on Tuesday night could still be visible. One of the gates into the Bipanda Omispor Stadium could still be seen lying distance away from the main entrance. Abandoned shoes, headscarves, and other clothing give a clear testimony of the magnitude of the stampede, which reportedly left one person dead and several others injured.
This mad rush for science and wonders goes far beyond fit. The youth need job, the quest for right partners, uniting families. The list is long. Since the new government has failed in total to provide its citizens with the above-mentioned services, the people have no choice than to turn to men of God for help. Help to break the yoke of poverty,
help to break the tribal and linguistic barriers, eliminate corruption and nepotism.
Football for the blind is another vision of the game with its peculiarities. The training of blind footballers is slightly different from that of sighted footballers in some aspects. The rules of the game impose a special communication code that enables the players to identify and locate their teammate and the opponent's pole during an encounter.
I am still with the chairman of the Social Democratic Front Party, John Fru Ndi. Now, Mr. Chairman, on the 2nd of October 2015, President Paul Biya reorganized members of government, appointing new members as well as dismissing some. What is the stand of the SDF party? A square peg in a square hole?
I don't think that he really reorganized his party or the government. They were just cosmetic changes that he pushed this one here, pushed that one there, pushing people, still pushing the same people around. So, well, as a leader, maybe those people he was pushing around are those that give him satisfaction in what he wants. Since I'm not in his government and not in his party, I don't know whether there are square pegs and square holes. Because some of the ministers, like agriculture, like animal husbandry, and a few others, have visited me here, visited the farm, and given me all the assurances we'll work together. They've been changed. You'll be waiting. Others will come. By the time they give you the assurances that we'll do something here, something there, they'll be changed, not only for me, but for the country. If you look at the uncompleted projects that are hanging around, you start wondering when we shall ever complete all these projects.
The SDF party is, at least, is happy that Mr. Biya reorganized the government to inject new blood.
No, it's not the SDF being happy, it's the Cameroonian people being satisfied. Can these ministers fulfill the wishes and the aspirations of the Cameroonian people? If the ministers can handle, then I think when Cameroonians are happy, we're happy. But when they say the SDF as if it's some competition between the SDF and the CPDM, no. We are saying that if you say that you've won the government and you're in government, take care of the people. Like in the elections of '92, a BBC journalist, when he saw the crowd, the last crowd we had in Yaoundé, she trembled and asked me, Mr. Chairman, if you don't win elections, can you control these people? I said the people are not to be controlled by somebody who's lost elections, but by the person who's won elections. Well, we've managed to have some relative peace in Cameroon up to where we are before the Boko Haram and the other things came in. I think that if Mr. Biya is putting ministers, these ministers should be taking care of the people of this country.
What explains the persistent absence of the Social Democratic Front Party in the government?
Oh, you wanted us to join government? You didn't tell me. And Mr. Biya has not invited me, so I don't know who thinks I should go into government. I think getting into government, after the rigged elections of '92, which I hate referring back to, I think that a government of national unity could have been put in place. But since that was not put in place, and they keep putting people who go in and embezzle so much money, amass wealth for themselves, and they keep pushing them left and right and not even collecting what they've embezzled, I think that it's not a government worth going into. For instance, when they delayed so much with the formation of this, the rumors were rife in the air that it's because the SDF refused joining government. The SDF. Meanwhile, I never had the approach from anybody.
That the SDF is asking for the Ministry of Finance and Defense.
Who said that? You, the Equinox journalist?
The same rumors you are talking about.
The same rumors. Well, sorry, those didn't come to me. I'm hearing from you now. Maybe some of those are the rumors. But for us to get into a unitary government, I think that we should sit down, let the Mr. Biya tell me what ministries he's giving me and what I'm supposed to do, or I now come to tell him that this is how I will handle my ministries. than for somebody to tell me that they want to get SDF into government and Fru Ndi is refusing. Meanwhile, there's nobody approaching me for anything whatsoever.
So Mr. Biya has never approached John Fru Ndi national issues?
Never. After the famous meeting in Bamenda, he invited me for the agro-pastoral show in Ebolova, which I attended. They invited me for the 50th anniversary in Yaoundé and Boya. I attended. And in all this, he made the allusions to the fact that we'll meet and talk. But we've never met, we've never talked thereafter. So how do you think I've been discussing with him about the entry into government now?
Now, Mr. Biya talked much during the Council of Ministers meeting about the 3 years development emergency plan. He expatiated on that, talking about the building of stadiums, construction of roads. What is the take of the SDF party as far as the 3 years emergency plan is concerned?
I think that is just one of those talk shows. He was talking to his ministers. If you were talking in a forum where I was involved, I could have had questions to ask him. But he was talking to his ministers, and we are very aware of this type of talks. We started by Operation Health for All by the year 2000. By the year 2000, so many people died in Cameroon than they've ever died before. You start with, he boasted that the people wanted him to die. He gave them 25 years. The 25 years are getting to pass. He talked of Operation 2035, emergence. Now, you don't see any concrete plans put down. Phase 1 we are doing this, phase 2 we are doing this, phase 3 we are doing this, phase 4 we are doing this. I remember when later Hijo came with Operation Green Revolution, he straight away came up with the Sancho Rice Project, where they had a big industrial machine to process rice. He talked of the Yabasi Center for youths and for people to go take land. He opened that and people went there. He talked of the rice projects in Maga. They put a big industrial machine there. He talked of the rice factory in Yagua. And he talked of animal husbandry. And all these things, people saw them moving. They were moving. He built water catch points from inland, bringing water to where animals could just drink water as they went along. But today, there's no grass improved for any animal, no water for animals to drink. Even Cameroonians right in Yaoundé don't have water to drink, no electricity, and all the like. So when we are talking about emergence, you need things like electricity to use. You need things like roads to enable you move. Today, Cameroonians cannot move, even on old roads that had been tarred. I mean, I'm talking about roads well tarred, not the spraying of tar that they come and do in Bamenda here when it's coming and in other places. Look at the bypass from Bamenda station coming down to town to bus out at where Momes is loading their vehicles. That's a road that costs about 11 billion, and they still promise that there was another 9 billion in the stores for the contractor. The road is already broken now that we're talking. So,
in essence, the 3 years emergency plan is doomed to fail?
I was coming to that. Okay. So when you have all this that people gave you projects and told you how they were starting, you saw it. But if Mr. Biya, after 32 years in government, tells you that he's coming up with a 3-year emergency plan and he has to build stadiums, countries that won, that participated in the World Cup, African Cups, the monies they gained from this, they were able to build stadiums in their own country, paid their players well. But Cameroon, with all our participation, Cameroon that has had all the glory in football, has no stadia to show that these are our own fallbacks from the World Cups and the matches that we've played, being a stadium. No stadiums were built, and the people who participated were never paid their dues. That's why you have the problems with
match bonuses.
Match bonuses, well, with this footballer now. What's his name again?
Samuel Etofis.
Etofis, he had problems with Etofis. Now, and many more. Even the girls that played yesterday that were never heard of, not known, they suddenly emerged somewhere. They locked them in the hotel in Yaoundé, Montfebe, and they're not able to pay their bonuses, and we're inviting them to meals to play to the gallery. So when you have all that, which has not been done, and you are telling me that the operations for 3 years, you'll build the stadiums, you'll build this, you'll build that, and even the stadium buildings, first, to maintain what late Ahijo left, has been a big, big problem in Cameroon. 2, they are doubling stadiums in other areas, whereas in some places there's no stadium at all. Look at what they're using here in the northwest. In Gaundare, there's no stadium. In Marwa, there's no stadium. And they're not thinking of that. But they're doubling in Yaoundé, they're doubling in Douala. And so, you ask me, where is this money coming from now? As I said before, most African governments embezzle. But what happened in Ivory Coast was that when the president, late Humphrey Bouanyi, realized that his people had embezzled so much money, he blocked them in the room, showed them the accounts and the amount. Today we don't even have the accounts. We don't even know how much has been stolen. And call the ministers involved, please, can you tell your bankers to transfer this money into this account? He did that and went scot-free without problems in the country. But today, we've exposed Cameroon as the most corrupt country under the sun. And with all the embezzlement, people are imprisoned. And I think that the operation 3 years is just one of those talk shows. Will they do a good job to bring stadiums that people will go in without them collapsing as the roads are getting broken, as the bridges are getting broken? You remember when they tarred the Kumba Boya Road, they destroyed all the old bridges. In less than 6 months, most of the bridges they had put up on a new road were broken. So are they assuring us that they will really come up with solid structures of stadiums that will befit Cameroon?
Time for us to take the press review. Newspapers of the week who got interest in some of the news-making events. Babila Jonathan with the press review.
Voted government aging ministers, accumulation of positions, non-declaration of assets, corruption, tribalism, inertia, indiscipline, over-dependence on presidential directives, and lack of job description for ministers, delegates, and secretaries of state. These are some reasons highlighted by the Guardian Post on Monday to back the point that President Paul Biya's 3-year emergency plan is bound to fail. About the National Mourning Day organized for 76 Cameroonian pilgrims who died in a stampede in Mecca, the Guardian Post questions why it was not the case for 1,700 English-speaking Cameroonians who perished in the 1986 Lagos disaster. The Post reports that some 30 meter readers claiming to be employees of the company in charge of electricity generation and supply in Cameroon, ENEO, are on a sit-down strike in the northwest regional chief town, Bamenda. They are demanding unpaid dues, including bonuses and annual leave and social insurance contributions not paid for over 10 years. Also in this issue of the paper, 3 unidentified armed men dressed in military uniform attack and loot a shop in broad daylight at Carrefour Anatole in Douala. The fight against terrorism in Cameroon takes a new twist as the country is due to purchase 6 drones worth 5 billion francs CFA from the United States of America. As reported in The Sun, the deal was sealed after the announcement of the deployment of 300 non-combat U.S. troops to Cameroon. According to The Sun, the Social Democratic Front SDF political party has vowed to regain control of the West region. The party's national chairman, John Fru Ndi, recently laid the foundation stone of a 90 million francs CFA worth party secretariat in the region's capital city, Bafoussam. And in the big news in this issue of The Sun, the paper highlights mass defections rogging the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement CPDM political party grassroots organs reorganization exercise. Some organizing committee members who find satisfaction in playing than refereeing the election have stepped out of election teams to vie for executive positions in the various organs of the party. The paper also foresees the influence of money or better still, corruption in the election, but Ibrahim Talba Mala, CPDM National Organization Secretary, warns that no one has been authorized to impose candidates on electorate. On the same issue, Eden reports that the resignation of Reorganization Commission members in the Southwest and Northwest regions is troubling the CPDM party hierarchy. Eden underlines the fact that instructions from the party's hierarchy indicate that members of organizing commissions are not eligible for election. Thus, those interested in positions had to resign. In another news article, it is reported that the myth of first-class journalism degree in the University of Buea has been broken by Michael Isifu. 28-year-old Michael Isifu Wifengla will graduate come December as the first student of the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication to back a first-class degree since its creation in 1993. The Post-Weekender reports the Special Criminal Court's verdict sentencing Charles Metuk, former general manager of the National Oil Refinery Sonara, to 15 years in jail for embezzlement of public funds. In another news article in this issue of the Post-Weekender, soldiers of the Rapid Intervention Battalion slaughter pirates who have been attacking Cameroonian business people on the high seas in Bakassi recently. In the big story on the front page of the Post-Weekender, George Njingwa Tambo, principal of Government Bilingual Teachers Training College, Kumba, says land grabbers may render the institution homeless if stringent administrative measures are not taken to stop the arbitrary sale of the school's land by private individuals. It is within this context that the paper writes that land grabbers want Anglophones' education and political cradle dead. But as reported by the Star, Cameroon's Minister of State Properties, Surveys and Land Tenure has taken tough stance to stop the land grabbing phenomenon. She has instituted new conditions of owning land certificates, banning chiefs from owning land certificates and warning defaulters of imminent prosecution. In another news story in this issue of the paper, President Paul Biya is reported to have instructed government ministers to be committed in their duties. And that's it for the press review in this edition of The Insight. More news from the papers next Sunday.
The press review there by Babila Jonathan. I'm still here with the national chairman of the Social Democratic Front Party, John Fru Ndi, at the FIEF here in Bamenda Northwest region. Now, Chairman, the CPDM party is reorganizing its basic organs till December 2015. What is the SDF doing in case of anticipated elections?
The reorganization started with the SDF because after the March past we had in Yaoundé, we started organizing our party structures in the center. And the party officials in the different regions are out on the field. But you see, when so much attention is given to the CPDM, they monopolize the state radio, they monopolize the state resources, they monopolize the ministers, and they are going out. I think that ministers should not, please, one thing that the SDF has been saying is that you should learn to differentiate governance from a political party. That Mr. Biya should choose ministers because of their capabilities, not because of their political leaning, how they'll give him backup. I've told people, and I still repeat, that when the SDF will take government, there's no guarantee that all the people who must put in were strong, hardline SDF people. We'll be looking for Cameroonians of good standing who can deliver to make the ministers. And when you make a minister, you take the minister sent to the field straight away, go and talk the politics of the CPDM, praise President Paul Biya, he's done giving me, you go to your people, oh, you see, they've made me a minister, so send motions of support to President Paul Biya, homecoming, the clarion call, the people's call, they write all those garbage of books and tell you that you are there worshipping President Paul Biya instead of serving the Cameroonian people whom you are called to serve. The ministers were appointed to serve. Can they serve honestly without going to the field to dabble themselves with politics in a game that most of them don't even understand? I remember in those early days, people went up, oh, Kumba exchange, this and that, look at the roofs, and the roofs are all covered with dust. Why those politicians? And today, you get a scientist who's developed something very good. You make that person a minister. The scientist, instead of continuing with his research, tells you, oh, it's for President Paul Biya that I've been made minister. Tell the people that I am where I am because I have done this and I'm still prepared to do that. So that the Cameroonian people, who are mostly farmers, can have the rightful material for their farms than be praising somebody. I don't think that I want to be praised. You have the jingles on the television, which is Mr. Biya's name that they are singing. Every day you are singing somebody's name. Every day is somebody's name you are singing. I mean, we've sung the name. We know that is their president. Work and give us results. It's not by singing your name that makes you a successful head of state or making unfulfilled promises. You'll
be having your elective convention. Are you preparing to succeed yourself as the chairman of the SDF?
It's not succeeding myself. Please, I want to make this abundantly clear with you, the journalist. There are people who come out who are ambitious. There's no elections that we've gone in without going out for the primaries where the people choose. I stand elections. I've never declared myself chairman of the SDF without going through an election. Tell me, outside the SDF, which political party in Cameroon has chosen its leadership without self-proclamation?
But there is always nomination. We know that even with the CPDM party, people always nominate President Biya.
But why is it that people who try to challenge him end up either being imprisoned or exiled?
It's a revelation you are making now.
Oh, which you don't know. That's interesting.
It's a revelation you are making.
No, I see that's interesting because as a good journalist of your own standing, there are some of these things you know them, you've seen them, you've lived them, but you want Fru Ndi to say it, so that I say it's Fru Ndi who said it. Anyway, if there's something you fear saying, please let me know, I'll say it for you.
There's nothing I fear saying. You are saying that some of them have gone to prison and gone on exile. Can you name some of them?
I think as a journalist of good standing who does investigative journalism, please can you go find out and come back to me?
No, Mr. Chairman should at least tell televiewers who are watching him.
No, the televiewers are watching me that they don't know, that you don't know.
That the chairman knows.
Fine. When the chairman knows, we know. So, and I said it before.
Now, Chairman, this soft spot for the former Minister of Territorial Administration and Decentralization, somebody who rigged election, somebody the SDF party has been cursing. Why this soft spot for Marafa Hamidou Yaya?
Which soft spot is that? Which soft spot?
You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know.
The SDF party has been clamoring against the trial of Marafa Hamidou Yaya.
No, we've not taken a position in our National Executive Committee meeting to say that Marafa Yaya should not be tried. When he was arrested, he cried and asked for us to send a lawyer. We sent a lawyer. Because when you rig elections and do all those things, the SDF does not want you to die. We want you to be alive to see what we are doing to affect the changes we are talking about. But if you keep doing it, well, it's unfortunate that the people for whom he worked to rig the elections in their favor are the people punishing him, not the SDF. But when he called and asked for an SDF lawyer, the SDF has to be magnanimous to show that we are open. We can even help the devil. So we helped him send a lawyer, and it ended there. So any other thing that somebody is writing in the papers now looks at that person. But the SDF will not go to support the wrong things. And if anything happens in the SDF that Fru Ndi has to be tried, I have to stand to face the acts of the law. So he thought that by rigging all the elections and at one time boasting to me that he had results of certain areas in his pocket, and which came out true. But yeah, that came out true. They said the evil that men do live with them. The evil that is done is living with him. It's not me who's put him to prison.
Today, what's your relationship with Professor Maurice Kamto of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement? Many say this is a man who has come to replace Fru Ndi as the next strong opposition person in the country. Just first appearance, he has already a parliamentarian. What is your relationship with Maurice Kamto today?
Well, it might be a shame for me to say that if Maurice Kamto stands before me now, I might not identify him to say this Maurice Kamto. But under normal circumstances, and thinking that a person like that coming into politics, we could have even met to discuss. Maybe I met with him before and I cannot remember. But when the SDF came into the political scene in 1990, we do not monopolize it to say it belongs to the SDF. After the SDF, many more parties were formed. The UNDP came up, the CDU, and all these parties came up. So the field was open. But if he came and people saw something in what he was doing and they vote for him, fine. But when they say, oh, he is going to replace Fru Ndi, that's very dirty politics. From 1990, we've been fighting for free, fair, transparent elections, for Cameroonians to choose a person they think can lead their country and meet up with their expectations. If Maurice Kamto is coming to do that, fine with me. I have no objection. But if people are coming in with tribal politics, that's where I object.
Is he doing tribal politics?
Well, I didn't say that.
Now, Mr. Chairman, you are the chairman of the Social Democratic Front Party, 25 years now.
Are you asking me or you're telling me?
I'm telling you that.
Right.
And President Paul Biya is the chairman of the Cameroon's People Democratic Movement, the CPDM. Apart from being chairman of the SDF party, you are also a member of the International Socialist Party. People only know you internationally of being a member. It's like you are together with Mr. Paul Biya in a quasi-international isolationist move.
Well,
in essence, what's your relation with the outside world?
My relationship is that I've taught most of the European countries to sell the image of the SDF, to sell the ideology of the SDF. We taught nearly all the places we thought we could get in touch with in France, in Britain, in Germany, in America, and the other places. And as you say, rightfully say, we belong to the Socialist International, which is a group of the socialist parties. And this organization started in Germany. And we are a member of that. And we attend regular meetings, paying our own contributions to belong to that organization. And in these meetings, we discuss issues that affect the Socialist International, and we look at issues that affect the world, and we come up with strong positions on these issues, those that we can condemn. And not being a government, we can only end at the level of condemning and advising the governments concerned to adjust their positions and take positive positions that will bring honor to humanity. But when you talk of Mr. Biya being a member,
he has a quasi-international stance as far as foreign policy is concerned.
Well, with which country, with which group, with which organization?
Just of recent, Mr. Abia signed an accord with the United States of America that will be deploying 300 troops.
No, that is signing. Yes, that is signing something with a country, not with organizations that belong. When the Socialist International will sit, we'll look into that, whether that was proper. But if you're asking me my opinion of the American troops, I've made this opinion known to quite a couple of news medias. And what I said there was that, first and foremost, Mr. Biya is running the government of Cameroon single-handedly. Because when he went to declare war against the Boko Haram in France, he never discussed, he's commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He cannot declare war without calling his état-major down for them to discuss, to go to war or not. One. Two, he has to go to his assembly, the National Assembly, the representatives of the people, go to Senate, that is put in place. If he doesn't discuss these things with the Assembly and with the Senate, then of what use are the Senate and the House of Assembly in Cameroon? So he went, discussed that alone. The American troops coming to Cameroon, you as a journalist, maybe you are well placed and you have more information than I do have, that Mr. Biya debated with his senators, with his members of parliament, to say that we better call for the American troops to help.
That was not the case. Anyway, it was not made public, the procedure Mr. Biya used.
No, Mr. Biya is there for the people, not for himself. He has to make it public for me to know, so that I can also give him my own support or tell him where I think it's gone wrong. So, if he didn't do that, and I only hear that American troops are coming, are you telling me that I should jump up and start clapping and shouting, rejoicing that American troops are coming?
But what can you make from this support?
What I can make
America
from the support.
Are they giving with the right hand and taking with the left hand?
I think that that's what they're doing, because I listened to President Barack Obama, who said the American troops are going in to defend. They're not going to attack. I got that very well, unless my ears deceive.
That they have arms to defend themselves in case of any attack.
Well, but if you are going to the war front, you are going to attack. You're not going to sit somewhere and be waiting to defend yourself. And now they've come, I'm told that they are stationed in Garwa, not Marwa, where the center of operations are. So when I see this, analyzing the situation before me, I see them defending American interests in Cameroon, which is, for now, the Chadian pipeline, Chad-Cameroon pipeline, which is an American concern.
The Lake Chad Basin.
Well, if they've come to protect that, well, let that be made known to Cameroonians and not that they're coming to. But you see, before this came out, before even the French made an attempt to start coming in, before the Chadians came in to Cameroon, Mr. Biya himself had boasted that he is going to take care of the terrorists, the way he took care of the operations of '92, the way he took care of terrorism in the '60s and all the like.
Terrorists which the SF party has do not want to recognize them as Boko Haram militants.
We've not had terrorists in Cameroon. We had freedom fighters. The UPCs were fighting for the independence of Cameroon. And for some obvious reasons, they had to be termed terrorists. But we call them the freedom fighters because those are people who started fighting for Cameroon to be free.
What name do you give to those in the far north?
Well, those in the far north, they've declared that they're Boko Haram. It's they who declared. But when Mr. Biya declared war against them in France, unless, and I want to beg the pardon of the Cameroonian people, that I do not understand the situation very well. But by then, they had just abducted people from Cameroon. Not even Cameroonians. And when Mr. Biya, again without consultation, went to France and said, I have come to declare war against the Boko Haram. It is that very night that they now attacked Cameroon. And when they attacked Cameroon, he went back to the air and said, oh, you see, we're sleeping us, we're few, not well armed, and they came at unholy hours and attacked us. I felt so disgraced, ashamed of myself, that the commander-in-chief of the armed forces at the war front cries out to say that he had no equipment. Then I asked myself, when May 20th comes, you see, they are marching down the streets of Yaoundé with all the equipment from Air Force to Marine to Infantry to Cavalry, showing the might of Cameroon. Just an attack from a terrorist group, will you cry? If Nigeria attacked you and you cried, or Chad or Central African Republic, that is something different, but not from terrorists. And he made no efforts to take his dispositions. And that's why he cried on the first blow. And when we came into the show, to start talking, we said, if Mr. Biya has retrieved 1, 2, 3, up to about 5 sets of people abducted and paid ransom, it means that he knows the people to whom he was paying this ransom. He knows the people who abducted this. What did they tell you that was their quarrel with Cameroon? Because in Nigeria, they've told you that in Nigeria, we don't want to go to Western education, to schools. We don't want Western medicine.
They want to institute a caliphate.
Okay, they want to do that. So, but what have they told you that they want in Cameroon? Because that is a Nigerian, the Boko Haram is a Nigerian phenomenon. We should not take somebody's mask and wear it on our heads and start dancing it and dancing offbeat.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The later part and the last of the insight on Equinox Television will be coming up next after the special report by Mimi Mefo. She looks at the 3 years development plan by President Paul Biya. Stay with us.
The grassroots population is a principal beneficiary of government's projects, but their well-being have not witnessed a remarkable improvement in 30 years. The country for the past 3 decades has been facing one social crisis to another, despite developmental projects launched by the regime. The rights of Cameroonians to basic social amenities like water, electricity are violated, access to quality healthcare problematic, and some have to launch protest demonstrations for their plights to be heard. It is against this backdrop that critics, opposition leaders, and Cameroonians in general have given up relying on the government. Some say that cases of past failures are clear indication of a bleak future with the present regime. The emergency plan, for instance, is over 1 year old, and the government is still on the drawing board. The initiative has been at the center of discussions of countless ministerial gatherings, but effective implementation is still far-fetched.
It is just political rhetoric, which with no realistic and practical solution to the everyday problem of Cameroonians.
Many even ask to know whether members of government have fallen short of ideas.
It is the same. It is the same. And there is nothing new.
They said that the time for action is now if the much awaited change is expected.
After those documents, we are in front of nothing on the field. We need to see this government on the field.
But how would change come when power is centered around a 2D?
Lorsqu'on regarde l'organisation, la structure de notre gouvernement, Paul Biya est au centre de tout. Moindre décision, il faut toujours attendre le visa de la présidente. Donc, dans ces conditions-là, je ne crois pas que ces ministres puissent prendre des initiatives courageuses.
Ministers and even the head of government have to consult the head of state before their plans of action are validated. The government may even justify its failures on the billions of francs CFA disbursed to counter terrorism, but it is no secret to Cameroonians that several developmental projects have been stagnant and many unrealized at all. The opposition say that the government is marking time on the structural adjustment program launched years ago, the growth and employment strategy paper, and therefore the 2035 vision may only see the light of day decades after the deadline. What has or can the opposition do in the face of these socio-economic loopholes is the question raised by many. Some even say that the regime has succeeded to render key political opponents powerless by making them part of the government.
Le régime RDPC va nous habituer à ce genre de propositions.
It is an occasion to make their political propaganda with all of potential victory in this area.
The young government therefore has less than €2 to render an accurate account of the emergency plan launched in a meeting of Council of Ministers in 2014. Only then would Cameroonians be able to tell whether the regime should be given a pass mark this time.
Now, elections in Côte d'Ivoire this Sunday. Alassane Dramane Ouattara alongside 7 other candidates are vying in for the position of the president. We currently have a referendum in Congo-Brazzaville which has been making news this week. A referendum that will be a direct one that's consulting the population. Do you buy this idea of President Denis Sassou Nguesso?
Well, when I answered your first question, which you asked about governance and politics, I did not specify very well to let you know that leading a political party, chairman of the Social Democratic Front, is different from governance. The bylaws of the SDF, the constitution of the SDF, it spells it very clearly that nobody takes governance for more than 2 terms when you are in government. But when you are leading a revolution, most often I hate quoting Mandela in South Africa. He was that symbolic stage where he was leading the people of South Africa through what he went through, which is almost what we're going through in Cameroon. And the UPCs today still continue to remember Felix Mumi for the role he played as a leader going through a revolution. So, when we talk of a referendum in the Congo-Brazzaville to ask the people whether I should stand again, that country has a constitution that spells out the length of time that a president in governance.
7 years, 2 years mandate.
After that, we should call it quits. I do not see why we cannot learn from America, from Britain, from these civilized countries.
The French President François Hollande said there is nothing bad in organizing a referendum in Congo-Brazzaville.
Yeah, but we know what referendums in Africa mean. That they are manipulated, they are fixed. They do not come out with the real aspirations of the people. That's where some of us fear. If we were to think that would be transparent, but even being transparent, Sassou Nguesso has been on seat for how long?
About 32 years.
32 years. What I'm trying to say is that we should not make some African leaders demigods in governance. 2 terms out. If you can go out and come back, yes. But 2 terms, you don't. Because it is sometimes very difficult to unseat an incumbent. They use all the mechanisms. Look at the last presidential elections we had here. I had to go to the north. I got to the airport at 7 o'clock in the morning. And they blocked the roads up. Mr. Biya was coming from the north. And they blocked the airways and no plane lands until Mr. Biya lands and goes into Etude. I was at the airport from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Yet Mr. Biya was moving as a presidential candidate, not as president.
Which means Alassane Ouattara of Ivory Coast might be doing the same to retain power this Sunday.
I tell you that this is a quarrel I have with the international community. That if they want to help Africa succeed, we should have laws that will govern and guarantee free, fair, transparent elections. But when you say that, they say, but you are sovereign, you are a sovereign state. A sovereign state, then, if there's war, the troops that are coming in do not ask for your permission. The troops that come in, they don't ask for your permission. Your sovereignty ceases to exist. Why don't we preempt this and come up with these laws? International laws that will govern elections. As I keep saying and crying, if football, a balloon, air that will concentrate in leather, we are kicking, running, and having laws that govern this, whether it's Russian football, Indian football, Japanese, Chinese, wherever, or in Baba too, where I come from. Handball is handball. Rough game is rough game. They have this for the social activities. Can we not have this for elections that govern humanity? If these laws can be put in place, that's when I'll bow down to the international community and know that we are living in a civilized world. Otherwise, for now, we're living in a world very uncivilized. Just look, as you've been calling your correspondents and other things, look at the world on the move. Look at the number of people, refugees that are running from one country to the other. Look at the number of Africans that are dying in the Mediterranean Sea, trying to cross to greener pastures in Europe. Look at how many people are dying in our time. I get very frightened, and sometimes I ask my God, I say, God, you made the world beautiful, you blessed it. Why do you want it to scatter in my hands? Why should we let these things happen in the world without making sure that we can conduct elections to choose the rightful people, or a referendum, through good means to choose the people that can stand talk for us?
Before we leave, do you have any political godson, somebody you are preparing? We know that Ahidjo at least prepared President Paul Biya to take over power as the chairman of the SDF party. Any political godson?
Well, if President Ahidjo did that to Mr. Biya, that's where the problem is, and that's why the mistake was made. That you send one person, send a couple of people, let the people choose. So in other words, I have godsons and daughters.
Not political godson.
Political godsons and daughters.
It was a pleasure being with you, the chairman of the Social Democratic Front Party, John Fru Ndi. This edition of The Insight, we are at the fief of the Social Democratic Front Party in Bamenda, Northwest region of Cameroon.
Well, I want to thank you for coming with your tantalizing, searching questions, and I do hope that this will let Cameroonians and the world see what we are thinking and what we are going through. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best.
It was a pleasure equally being with you tonight in this week's edition of The Insight on Equinox Television. You must have noticed it was an outdoor production. Good night and goodbye.